Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded March 13th, 2016, and it's titled, Come to the Garden, subtitled, The Creative Process, the Seed, the Soil, the Fruit. Come visit us at www.seasidecenter.org, and as always, you can join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving community await you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here.
All right, so let's see. This morning I'm going to be talking about coming to the garden as the metaphor. And actually really one of the key principles or fundamental laws that we work with in this teaching of the science of mind is the creative process. And we use the analogy of the garden or the seed, where the seed is the thought that gets planted in the soil being the law, the creative medium, the principle that knows how to produce. It doesn't know what to produce until the seed's been put into it, but it knows how to produce. Just as long as you continue to nurture it with what it needs, then you get the fruit. And so that's the analogy I'm working with today. Now, Ernest Holmes, one of the things he said is that the mind is so plastic that any thought makes an impression upon it. And the people who have so many thoughts cannot help but to expect confused manifestations in their life. It's like a gardener that plants 1,000 different kinds of seeds will get 1,000 different kinds of plants. Well, the mind is like that. The mind is like that in the sense that it is that soil that receives the seeds. And so what we want to be conscious of are the seeds that we plant. Ernest talks about trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. And what we want to do is be conscious of the seeds that we are planting, because that is what tends to manifest in our life. So often we get caught up in the fruit and the manifestation. That's what we get excited about, but we forget it's the seed. There was a young adventurer ready to go out on his life's pilgrimage and search for the adventure. And he went out in the world looking for love and joy and happiness. And he found some of that, but he also found some of the tough things in life in the world. He came across wars. He came across fighting, and he discovered that the people who had possessions were always preparing to defend their possessions, getting ready for war. Found individuals who were looking for love and found some love. They would build walls around it to protect what it is they had, and there was a great deal of contrary expression for what it was he was truly seeking out there in life that it began to wear him down. He got tired, and one day when he was out there doing his wandering, he came across a little cottage right on the outskirts of a town that had a light inside that seemed really intriguing. It had like this pull. What's in there? So he opened the door and he went in. He could feel like there was something special about this place. And this person came out and he couldn't tell really if it was a guy or a woman. I mean, and couldn't at all tell the age of this person. And the person said, "So what are you looking for?" And the guy said, "Well, what do you got?" And the person said, "Well, I've got everything that you're looking for. What is it?" He said, "Well, I'm looking for peace. I mean, not only for myself, but for my country, for the whole world. And I want to be able to feed the hungry, and I want to make sure all the children have education, and I want for those that are lonely to have friendship." And then he started to pull out his list of what this soul he was looking for. And the owner of the place said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, we don't sell the fruit here. We only sell the seeds." The seeds. That's what we have been given to plant. And that is what we get to nurture, we get to love. We put it into a law that responds, but you've got to continue to love it, to nurture it, and take care of that soil. Because what I've come to discover is it's easy to start things. But we're not here to start, we're here to finish. Around our house, I'm very good at starting projects and making messes and almost getting it done. We call Callie the closer around there. she comes behind to make sure everything is just fine when I'm almost done, so. But the thing in life, it's easy to start a relationship, but it takes some work to have that relationship blossom into what it's meant to be. For young ones, it's sometimes easy to create a baby, but it takes a lot to finish and do the parenting and be the mother or the father or to do that work. It is easy to start school or college. It takes some work and tenacity and calling for that extra something to finish what it is that we have been started. And so we have been put here not to just start, but to finish that for which we have been sent. In Philippians, you'll find it saying that we have come, that God will be with us until it has been completed. God will be with us until it is completed. We're the ones that must not give up. I've got the seed. I'm going to plant it in the ground, and I'm going to know. And there's going to be some tough times that are going to come up and challenge me. It's going to challenge. There's going to be winds that are going to blow, the droughts, the rains, whatever metaphor you want. You're going to be challenged and wonder, do I have what it takes? Am I worthy of this? Do I really have to sacrifice? What is it? They're questioning me. I got to say, shake it off. You just shake it off and keep going with it. When you go after that vision, you're going to come up with those times and you're just going to have to shake it off. Remember that story? I'm sure I've told it, about that old mule that fell in the well. Remember that one? Some of you. Should I not tell it then? Tell it? Don't tell it. Tell it. Don't. You guys can tell. Everybody tells it. But it's about the old mule. Farmer's favorite mule fell in the well. And he got his buddy to try to get the mule out. They couldn't get that old guy out of there, so they decided they would just bury it, put it out of its miseries. And so they took the shovel and threw the dirt in and landed on the back of the mule, and the mule shook it off and stepped up. And the next guy threw in the dirt, and he shook it off and stepped up. And the farmer threw in some more dirt, and he shook it off and stepped up, and threw in some more dirt, shook it off and stepped up until he stepped out of the well. Now you can tell the story. But that's the thing. You've got to be willing to shake it off. You plant the seed, and then in life there will be these dynamics that come up. And am I able to shake it off? Am I able to move higher than that experience? And when meditation, particularly when you're beginning to meditate, and you sit down there and you're going for that place of the silence. That one just feels so good. What happens, particularly in those early stages, is like everything but that fills your mind. It's like, oh, come on, why am I thinking about this now? Like, oh boy, I'm not very comfortable here. When is this going to finally end? What about lunch? I hope it's a good lunch. I want to go for Thai food, or I want to go for this. That call, I wonder if my loved one's going to give me a call. Is Christian ever going to call me out of this thing? And all of a sudden, the mind is going, but what begins to happen is you learn to go to the mountaintop. You learn to get to a little higher perspective, and you observe what's there, and it's like a cloud that passes through. And once it passes through and you don't buy into the desire or the temptation, it's like you move to that sense of peace. It's good. And you're good. And then here comes another one. Oh no, am I thinking about food now? I'm supposed to be with God. And I'm thinking, and you just notice and you let it pass through and you don't give it the energy. And then you get that peace. And then you start thinking, is this meditation ever going to end? Is the bell ever going to ring? You feel the anxiety in the body, and the bell rings, or I call you back. And it's like, boom, instantly, you're okay. Did you notice that? There's like no more stress, no more concern, no more desire for this thing to end. It's like once that bell rang, it's like, you're good. Instantly. Where'd it go? But I want us to get, that's how instantly, when we move off the desire or that which is clamping our mind to believe and say, this is the real seed, planted, that is not the real seed. That what you've got to remember is what has been put in your heart and your soul. That's what you've come into this world to do. And it's your responsibility to keep that flame going. In ancient Greece, there used to be this relay called the torch relay. And what the torch relay was, is the people would come together and they would be given a torch, and they would light it. And they had to cross the finish line after they ran this race with the light going. If they crossed the finish line first and the flame was gone, disqualified, doesn't count. You had to cross that line with the flame going. And we come into this world with that passion, with that seed, with that something inside of our being. And it's not a matter of getting to the end of your life. It's about having that flame alive and burning and living with the joy and living with the grace and living with the connection with that life spirit. It's not about just finishing the race. It is about finishing it with that light going. That which was most important to you, you didn't lose decades ago. And you spent the last half of your life as just a zombie trying to just make it. It's about the joy. It is about the light. It is about the love. It is about the spirit. It is about that flame. And when you honor your soul, essence, and purpose and seed that is inside of you, not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to like that. But when you're living your soul purpose, there's some that might get it and might like it. But the thing for sure is, if you don't live it, you'll never connect with anybody with your true essence, with who you truly are. You've got to be true to that and continue to nurture it, because there is a responsiveness in this universe in which we live. But you've got to hold true to it, even when others don't. Like Henry Ford. Could you imagine when Henry Ford started and he came out, with this car, and people were saying, "Henry, you got to be kidding. Come on now." Anybody in their right mind would just get themselves, instead of buying a car, a good horse and a fine carriage. Same price, probably even a little less. Do you really think there's going to be a road from here to over there? Do you really think there's going to be roads going everywhere? And how are you going to get gas in that thing? Are they really going to put a gas station on every corner? I don't think so. And how wrong all those individuals were. But I also got news for you. Horse and buggy may have been the best way for transportation, but then it's the car or the airplane. But the news I have for you is the best way for transportation hasn't been invented yet. The best way to get from here to there is yet to be. And when I teach you how to transportate yourself like Star Trek, that will be a workshop you'll want to be in. But that's what I want us to get. The best creation for the music or for your song or for that book or for that story or for that business idea or whatever it is, it has yet to be delivered. Those are the seeds that need to be planted, to be put into the ground and known that, there's something here and it's my job to hold on to it. Joseph, that little kid from the Bible, in his teens, he got this grand vision that he was going to rule over a nation. And if that wasn't good enough, he ended up being his father's favorite kid. So he got all the dad's goodies. He had the best clothes of all of his brothers. He didn't really have to do the work. He could boss people around. And then at about 17, his brothers had had enough of it, right? So what they do, you know the story. They ganged up on him and tried to kill him and threw him in a ditch and left him as dead. And then they had better thought, maybe we can get some money for our brother. So they hawked their brother into slavery, which probably can't be done anymore. Or I would have tried. No. And then after he bought into slavery, Potiphar, bought him from somebody else. And then it wasn't going well. It wasn't matching the picture. I'm going to lead a nation. Beaten up, left for dead, sold into slavery, sold again. Can't get much worse until he got thrown in jail. Which is, but if you've got a vision and nobody else gets it, it's still yours to hold that seed thought in that mind or that soil that is receptive, because it was holding on to that space that all of a sudden things began to stir, things began to happen. The Pharaoh had a dream that nobody could interpret, that Joseph ended up interpreting, and voila, there he is. He rules over in Egypt. But that's the way things can work if you hold on to that seed. When you're knocked down, God will pull you up. When life tells you you are wrong, God's going to tell you you're right. When things look impossible, remember God can do the impossible. That's the kind of essence that you're putting into the soil with your belief system. See, Ernest Holmes, he tells us, it's the sum total of our beliefs. Not like I had this great thought when I was 7 in my teens, and I haven't really done too much to support it for the last 40 years. It's the sum total of your thinking is what we're told. The sum total of your belief system that goes into the soil. I'll tell you what, if I love to garden in the springs here, which is what inspired this story, and if my seeds aren't working, you know what? It's not the seed's fault. It is the environment it's in. It is the soil. It is the thoughts. It is the nutrients. The seed is not producing. It's not because it's a bad seed. It's because the environment is not right. If things aren't clicking in my world, it's because the environment or the consciousness or the sum total of my thinking isn't in that right place. I'm not tuned into that vibration, into that frequency. The vibration, that's what goes forth from you, that sum total, and the frequency is the level of the vibration that's coming forth from you. And if you're thinking, oh man, life is tough and I'm going to work that it's not going to be tough, you're going to have a tough life because you're focusing on that tough vibration in your world. If you're not getting something and you're focusing on, I'm not getting this, that's what you're going to continue to get, is not getting. Get it? Good. I remember when I was learning math in school. I was elementary school and learning multiplication tables. Then all of a sudden, just as I'm beginning to grasp multiplication tables, they threw in fractions. If it wasn't enough just to multiply this number with this number above the line, they drew a line and put numbers below the line. And then now I had to multiply these stacks and numbers, not even across, but in like a reciprocal kind of way. And my mind was boggled, and I wasn't getting it. And I can remember my teacher, Miss Molly Rubin. And I just didn't get it. And she came on over to me. And it was like, I don't know, I'm a little nervous. Could be because she was cute. She was older. I mean, she wasn't old. She was like 30. And she was talking, and it was like, I wasn't getting it. Anybody ever talk to you and you just don't hear? You're just not matching the frequency there. If you want to get it, you got to bring your awareness there. That's how you change the dial. Is you got to bring your awareness to the situation. Say, okay, here I am. I'm available, and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be aware. I'm going to feel. And all of a sudden, as you begin to open up at a deeper level, you can understand the new math. You can understand the new equation. You begin to understand that what I need to do here is plant a bigger idea. What I need to do is now become available to that new vibration of expression and being. That all of a sudden I've operated at this level. Now it's time to operate at a new level. I like what Bob Proctor said. He was one of those human and business developmental, legends, even before he was on The Secret. He said, you don't get $100,000 a year because you want it. You get $100,000 a year because you don't know how to get $100,000 a month. And once you learn to get $100,000 a month, you're never going back to the $100,000 a year, because it's never going to fit. It's not going to be right. Maya Angelou would say, you don't do better until you know how to do better, and then what you need to do is do better. Got that? You can't do better until you know how to do better, and once you know how to do better, do it. Do it. Plant that seed, plant that bigger idea, and what you begin to notice is that there is this matching responsiveness from the law that brings the fruit, that brings the manifestation into your life. You will always find inside of yourself whatever is necessary to meet wherever it is you find yourself. And you may not know it's there through experience because you haven't called upon it. I know that when Callie and I go to our place in Montana, we always get a big SUV, which is probably not the best environmental thing to do, but it's valuable. It's got the all-wheel drive and the big engine. And I got to tell you what, you're going down the highway and everything is quiet and smooth, not a lot of noise, and there's really no need for four-wheel drive and big engines. But I got to tell you what, as soon as we turn off that road and we hit the ice and the snow, I can all of a sudden feel those front wheels starting to grip in with the back wheels, and all those wheels are working. And I am sure glad all-wheel drive is what I've got in that moment. I didn't need it before then, but when I needed it, it showed up. And then we start up this mountain, and all of a sudden you can hear those couple extra cylinders kicking in, and it like goes into overdrive, boom, and you can just feel it gripping and pushing and pulling us up that mountain without any issue. It's been there the whole time, but I didn't need it until I got off the road and needed to draw on something more. You know, all this extra good juju you got going on inside of you, until you need it, you're not going to really know that it's there. But once you get off your beaten path, once you begin to take that pilgrimage into areas in which you haven't been, and you're looking for that new terrain to plant those seeds, all of a sudden you're going to find inside of yourself that's something that is special enough to get you going. You've got it. You're not like a deer in the headlights. You know, you're not the deer. You're the headlights. You get it? You are the one who is shining the light. You are the one who's showing the path that you're on, irrespective of what those who are connecting with you or who are not connecting with you. You have been given and entrusted with these seeds, these magical seeds that must be planted in a soil that will respond to how you nurture it, how you support it. That is what it does, and it will blossom from the intelligence that is in that seed, the entelechy, which is the acorn becomes the oak tree. That's the intelligence that is in it. The God seed in you cannot help but to become the God expression in your life if you're willing to nurture it and not get obsessed about thinking about the things that don't work and can't work, and all of a sudden you begin building the sum total of your consciousness to the very experience you don't want. You hold that vision and know that you're the one who calls it into expression, and life responds to that. That is how it works. It's done unto you as you believe. If you want to keep it very simple, a master teacher once told us, it's like that. That's what I'm trying to tell you the creative process is, not what's going on in the world. I can remember 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City. Actually, it's the first Olympics I really remember. And they were doing the marathon. And there was this young kid from Kenya who was run the marathon. And as he was out running the marathon, he fell and he broke his leg. Blood, mess, whole bit. But the amazing part of this story is this kid, not Kenya, from Tanzania, I'm sorry. This kid from Tanzania got up and started running again with a broken leg. Well, by the time he made it back to the stadium, the marathon was long over. They had closed things down 2 hours earlier. 100,000 people in the stand were now a couple thousand just left over. The main lights turned off. TV cameras gone home. When this young kid from Tanzania came limping into the stadium to do his final lap around the track. And the few thousand people that were lingering around noticed and saw this kid started standing up. They started cheering. They started making noise like this kid was about to win the gold medal, which all of a sudden gave him the energy where his hands raised up in the air as if he was winning the gold medal. And he found what it was within inside of himself that he could make that final lap around that track and cross the finish line. And the footage from that experience and the response of the people in the stadium, if there was such a thing in 68, went viral. Anyway, all the TV stations that got footage of that began to play that. And when he was interviewed and said, "Why didn't you quit?" You know, it would have been very acceptable. You broke your leg. Why didn't you quit? He said, "My country didn't send me 7,000 miles to start a race. They sent me to finish it." It's easy to start. It's easy to put a seed in the ground. But it's hard to keep that flame from going out. That's the responsibility that lies with you for saying yes as the gardener in the world in which you live. You're invited to come to the garden, to partake of the fruit that is here, but also to share back the seeds that you've come to bring. I'm excited to see what those are. God bless us as you do that.
Such a long way home from where you have been. And what will it take to bring you back again? And all your searching's brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Can you hear the sound, the whisper in your soul that calls you back to where you belong? And all your searching's brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Behold the love. Behold the light in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. In your mind, in your heart, in your soul. In your mind, in your heart, in your soul. And all your searching's brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Here.
All Are Welcome Here, from the album Path of Light, was co-written by Peggy Lebo and Reverend Christian Sorensen. It's available at www.peggylebo.com.